Hi everyone, my name is Mohammed. Today I'm going to present the innovative approach which was taken toward the end of my PhD in microrobotics laboratory at University of Toronto under supervision of Professor Eric Diller to generically solve the underactuated control problem of multiple magnetic microrobots from robotics point of view via motion planning. There have been two primary challenges with magnetic team control. Number one, the system becomes highly underactuated as the number of magnetic microrobot agents increases due to infeasibility to integrate onboard circuitry at microscale. Number two, specifically speaking, when these magnetic microagents are to operate close to each other, they tend to stick together irreversibly because of strong interagent magnetic forces appear among them. And that's something ignored by previous studies. You see here a snapshot of our experimental setup. We use a 6-axis Helmholtz coil system to generate uniform magnetic field and gradient. I strongly suggest to look at our previous publications to get a clear idea on how we benefit from magnetic interagent forces to independently control the position of multiple magnetic microrobots in close proximity. In short, these animations show our multi-agent control principle through 4 motion primitives. Our main assumption is that all magnetic agents align with the external magnetic field simultaneously. In this slide, I explain what direction the field is moving and what the value of our work is compared to others. Besides our work, there have been other leading studies which benefit from quasi-static magnetic field actuation. For example, what you see in this video demonstrates magnetic swarm control in biofluids done by Dr. Zhang and his group. In contrast, my PhD thesis tries to answer this key question. How can we control the motion of each member of the team independently when there is only a single control input available? Imagine how easier to make a cut using 2 microrobot hands than only one. In our IJRR 2020 paper, for the first time, we demonstrated the motion control of 2 functional magnetic microrobots in 3D owing to our interagent force control method. The goal of this paper is to achieve collision-free autonomous navigation of 2 and potentially more magnetic microrobots in close proximity such that the agent's motions obey the governing unique non-holonomic actuation constraints. In our approach, we chose rapidly exploring random tree, RRT, a sampling-based planner that can be used for both planning and tracking. And our motivation behind that is, firstly, the motion of agents obeys unintuitive, non-holonomic constraints arising from actuation. These constraints can be formulated mathematically, but is not as kinematically intuitive as for other constrained robotic systems. Secondly, RRT Planner is one of the best methods to efficiently search non-convex, high-dimensional spaces that involve state differential constraints. You see here a simulation result of 2 magnetic microrobots steered from start to goal using the RRT Base actuation. Due to interagent kinematic constraints, the 2 microrobots have to follow a feasible path represented in black, while avoiding obstacles in both following and tracking of the automated black path. As a control input, we change the external field angle psi to shape the interaction forces between agents. We have shown the achievable interagent forces at different waypoints along the black path, as the angle psi sweeps from -90 to +90. This emphasizes that a feasible choice of path matters when designing and tracking a reference trajectory. This simulation exhibits a collision-free trajectory generation using RRT applied to a two-agent configuration in 2 dimensions, and its tracking using the optimization-based method developed in our previous studies. On the left shown the configuration space. On the right shown its mapping in the world space. The plot shows the corresponding path found by RRT Planner in the configuration space in yellow from the initial to goal joint configurations. The tracker is presented in black with the actual starting configuration shown by A sub C initial. Correspondingly, in the world space, the nominal reference trajectory of the first and second agent are shown in cyan and green solid lines. And the actual tracked trajectories are shown in black lines from the current position to the goal. You see here the multi-microrobot planning and tracking block diagram consisting of 3 subsystems. Number 1, path planning unit. Number 2, path tracking unit. Number 3, visual feedback unit. At each given time, the path planning unit uses RRT to compute a reference trajectory tau. But as you know, the current position of agents may be far off from the reference tau that is written by the RRT. That's why a path tracking unit is required. Inside that, a proximity controller is employed to push the agents toward the nearest nodes on the path tau. Once the agents arrive enough close to the reference path tau, the tracker continues with the sequence of the inputs written by the planner to complete the task. It is remarkable that RRT just returns a trajectory between initial and goal configurations if existed. As such, one can use Lie bracket first to determine the stability at a given configuration, and once the stability is approved, we will use the RRT to accomplish the navigation task. We first obtain the local state space representation of a two-agent configuration given here. And then we check the Lie algebra rank condition log by calculating the rank of control distribution, whether it is full or no. It turns out that a two-agent configuration has a full rank and therefore is a small time locally controllable STLC for any input angles other than 0 and 90 degrees, which are our extreme angles. To make sure that magnetic microrobots can tightly track their reference trajectory while satisfying their non-holonomic motion constraints, the agents must be dynamically directed to their reference trajectory. We realize this through the pure pursuit or look-ahead algorithm, which calculates the intermediate goal at each step time as a linear combination of the current normal vector to the path and the straight pointing vector to the goal implemented for each agent I. Here is shown our open-loop RRT Base Navigation experiment where we validated the predictability of our kinematic model. At the beginning, the proximity controller, realized by the optimization-based controller, is employed to steer the agents to the nearest node. Then the tracker unit is involved to smoothly steer agents from start in red square to goal in blue circles, in an open-loop manner by directly following the control input sequence written by the RRT. The result of this experiment indicates that our kinematic model is valid and it can be used as a priori model for feedback control systems. A potential feature of the navigation scheme is to offer a generic solution for more than 2 agents. Here we used RRT to solve an example of multi-agent microfactory. Two magnetic microspheres enter a microchannel maze to follow the feasible paths computed by RRT shown in cyan and green, while avoiding collisions with maze walls and static obstacles. The magnetic actuation is capable to navigate these agents to the test zone, shown in blue dots, and hold them in place. The red connecting line represents the look-ahead directions. These microspheres could represent magnetized cells, and the maze could represent MEMS tools that could be either a cantilever tool to lyse multiple cells at once, or gripping squeezer tool to measure the mechanical stiffness of the cells to characterize their types. Looking at the cell testing literature, it draws attention that often syringes are used to place the cells manually, and it is sort of struggling as the operator have to wait until a single cell would be trapped to their sensor zone. This is another motivation to integrate our magnetic actuation technology for either parallel cell testing or manipulation. In another experimental demo, we utilize our RRT Base Navigation for pick-and-place tasks in 3D using a pair of magnetic microgrippers. Here the microchannels, maze walls, and static obstacles were virtually overlaid on the real experiment's imaging plane. As you see, when requested, RRT generates feasible path in real time while avoiding obstacles from one goal to another, as you see now, until agents arrive at the target and they release the cargoes. Let's wrap up our talk by summarizing our contribution. For the first time, the obstacle avoidance navigation of multiple magnetic microrobots in close proximity was investigated. The idea was incorporated further to design a team cargo delivery and multi-agent microfactory that could be applied for cell testing and manipulation. In terms of future research directions, it is recommended to employ an advanced nonlinear controller to make the current method more robust for in vivo applications. It is recommended to extend the proposed method to control more agents. The idea could be developed further to identify feasible initial and end configurations for a number of agents. This study could also be useful in the development of medical devices with multiple magnets by ensuring that the transition paths between different configurations are as safe as possible. At the end, I would like to thank you for your attention and I appreciate my supervisor and our group members for their excellent support. I will look forward to seeing you in the conference.